listening to I'm So Vain with Josh Carmichael, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hey, welcome. It's Josh Carmichael. Welcome to I'm So Vain. This is our first show, our first launch, so thank you for tuning in. If this is the first time you've seen us, well, you're not alone because it's the first time you've seen us. So here we go. Before we get started, before I introduce my first guest, you can see I'm sitting alone. There's no one here. Just want to tell you a little bit more about the show and get you kind of up to speed on what we're doing. I'm So Vain is really an entertainment show, a live show where we do interviews and we talk to people that are in the creative fields, you know, actors, artists, musicians. We have a magician coming in. We have some singers coming in, just people that are inspirational and motivational, so that we show you, the audience, or we share with you, the audience, like all of us, if you have a dream, you can reach it, you can obtain it. We're going to hopefully give you some pointers and some tips and give you a background of like how we got started before, where we come from and how we got started and how we got to where we are today. And just share like a plethora of information and skill set and dreams and goals. And so that's the premise and the purpose of the show. Myself, you'll get to know me a little bit through this process, and you'll see where I came from. I'm from Kansas, from Dodge City, Kansas, which, by the way, I want to, it's a great time to just put out a little promo for one of our sponsors. These guys are really cool. They say, this is gin, by the way. The Boot Hill Distillery in Dodge City, Kansas, my hometown where I came from. We got a bunch more of this, but they sent us some bottles and wanted to help promote the show, and they've been really generous in sending some products. So sponsors are always welcome. We like that. We have some hat sponsors. We have some clothing sponsors. Anything's really. I like hats, obviously. Dallas Cowboys fan, but the Boot Hill Distillery is boothilldistillery.com. You can check that out online. You have to be 21 to go online or to click in to see their products. Obviously, it's an alcohol company or spirits company. So check them out, boothilldistillery.com. It's a great, by the way, their rye whiskey. So let me just give you a little background. It's made from wheat products, like, wheat fields. And so their rye, it's like a rye whiskey, but they're all made from the distillery from wheat, fermented wheat, whatever. I'm not sure of the whole process, but the whiskey, one of the best I've ever had, and the vodka's pretty good too. The gin is great as well, but the whiskey, my favorite. So check it out, boothilldistillery.com. One more time. We'll have a link on our page later. We'll show some promo pictures if you didn't get that picture, but. Let's get going with the show, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in. I'd like to welcome my first guest and my only guest today, but my first guest on the first show. He's a longtime buddy. I met him when I was coaching acting about 10 years ago. He was one of my first students in LA. First for him when he came back to LA and started getting back into the acting world, because he took a little hiatus from it, doing life stuff, but became a really good friend. He's a great actor, entertainer. He does some amazing impersonations that I think will hopefully come out on today's show. I'm sure he's getting nervous over there on the side. Like every actor, we get excited, we get pumped up. But Daryl, before I say his name, Daryl's also a military veteran. He's been a really good friend of mine. And when I say a really good friend, he's that true friend that calls you up in a time of need, or when he feels like something's going on, and has really been there for me. So it's my pleasure to introduce Darrell Britt, an entertainer, an actor, and best friend. Come on in, buddy.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Your headphones should be on. Check them out. Get set up.
How's it going, Josh?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, man. I want to say congratulations on your first show. It's amazing. Love that you've launched this. I'm really excited for you.
Well, thank you, man. I just want to say thank you for, by the way, Darrell lives in Missouri at the moment, and he flew in last night to be here with us today. So thank you for making that journey, man. That's
man. Always.
Hopefully you got enough sleep and you're
Definitely.
feeling ready to go.
Had a great night.
So, well, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, but I really want you to, just talk to me as we normally talk.
Sure.
Tell me, I think the first thing, people probably want to know, and what I like about you is, how you got started in this, and how,
Okay. Well,
your career kind of happened or took off.
Well, just like you, I came from the Midwest, Southeast Missouri, and I was the son of a preacher man and wonderful mom, great family. I have a sister; she has a beautiful family as well. Basically, I grew up acting first off in church plays and then school plays, and it was just like a bug that bit me. And I just couldn't let it go.
How old were you when that
My
started?
first play, I probably was 8, but even before that, we were doing skits at like 5 or 6 in church, little skits and whatnot. So, yeah, as a child, you pretend everything is magical. You play cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, whatever it is, and you just totally immerse yourself in that. And I never wanted to grow out of that. So,
well, they say it's a child's game, or it's child's play. You're just reinventing yourself anyway, or pretending to be a character and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So you never let that go away. You never let that child that energy die.
I couldn't. I was a musician as well. I mean, anything that was fun, magical, or got you in the spotlight, I just had to have that. I loved the effect I could have on people, and what you get from the audience as well, whether it's good, bad, and different. It's just amazing the reactions and the emotions you feel with that. So I joined up, and I only wanted to do 2 things in my life. The entire growing up was being an actor and serving in the military. So I joined the Air Force.
So you kind of did both.
Yeah, I did both. I fulfilled both of those.
So in the military, so you joined, 18, I'm guessing?
Almost 19.
Okay.
19, yeah.
So when you went in the military, were you still pursuing the arts, or were you still acting?
I was not at that time. Of course.
It's kind of hard to do when you're in there, right?
Definitely, yeah. I ended up going over.
Did you read books or anything?
Always.
All the time?
Always,
yeah. So you kind of kept that alive?
Definitely, yeah. Definitely always studying the craft. You have to do that. You have to study what you want to do. With the Air Force, I got stationed out here at Edwards, California, which was outside of L.A. in Lancaster, Palmdale. It was just after Desert Storm, so I did go to Desert Storm reconstitution for the cleanup. So I was over there for 7 or 8 months.
And what was that like? Give us a little of that.
It's a different world, totally different world. But
was it shocking to see? So you went for the cleanup, so obviously a lot of damage, a lot of debris, a lot of.
Yeah. Well, I was in the Air Force, so we were still, taking care of runs and whatnot. We did have a couple of scuds come at us a couple of times, which was definitely a little crazy. But it was great, man. Got a lot of experience there, life experience, saw the world, to a 19-year-old kid from Southeast Missouri.
It's a big place.
Yeah, it totally did. The desert, the whole deal. So when I came back, I finished up my time in the Air Force. I was in for 4 years, and I stayed here in L.A.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you for yours as well.
Well, you're welcome.
Josh is a fellow veteran with the Navy, guys. Won't hold that against him. But
I always say the Navy and the Air Force were the the more intelligent forces. Nothing against the others,
absolutely.
but
the Air Force takes
takes a little higher score to get into those. It seemed like,
it does.
But not only that, but they're more protected. I think that's really what it was, and I just want to touch on that for a minute. The Air Force, I always felt, you're less likely to go to war unless you're a pilot or you're flying.
That's correct.
And the Navy pretty much as well, because you're protected on a boat if you're on a ship or if you're,
But nonetheless, there's danger everywhere for every one of our guys that serve out there and gals. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, absolutely. And we lost several people on the carrier, mostly from accidental stuff, but there's always risk at it. Anytime you join the military, you're taking a risk regardless, and you're signing your life away to volunteer to serve and protect. So again, it's I don't know about you, but for me, the military changed my life. Meaning, it got me out of the small town.
Yep.
Which I think it did for you as well. Did you find that base? Having traveled a little bit in the world in the military, did that give you more to talk about or more of a depth?
Oh, sure.
So when you brought that back to the acting, did that?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, anything you do in life, you get more experience, and it helps you in life in general. But when you're talking about something like acting, where you have so many tools you have to learn with the craft to put in your toolbox, life experience, something that you're not used to, something completely different.
Right.
It's definitely going to add to that and let you bring things to characters. Because a lot of times with acting, you're playing make believe, you're playing a drug dealer, or you're playing somebody that is not even close to you.
Right.
But maybe you have never been a soldier, and you're playing a soldier.
Right.
But you have to.
It does help, right? So it gives it. I found that it. I always thought acting is easy compared to the military. It's one of the toughest mental games I've ever had in my life.
Very true.
Physically, not so much. I'm pretty physical fit. You are too. When I went in, I expected more physically, but the Navy's not the most physically challenging company. But the emotional stuff, and the wordplay and all of that. And so I remember I came to LA after I was in New York for a bit. When I came to LA to really act and really study and really get into it, I said, "Wow, is this it?"
Right.
Because this is easy.
Right.
I mean, meeting casting directors and starting, learning the craft was more difficult to get to the emotional context. But just showing up, I'm like, this is nothing, man. You have no idea the pressures. And, I went through Guantanamo Bay, what we call Gitmo training for 8 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever. It was a living hell. It was the most, up for 72 hours, no sleep, that kind of mental stress, emotional stress, and physical stress. So, I think it prepares you for life. Also, we talked about this briefly yesterday, I think, initiation into manhood. So the military for me was my initiation into manhood.
Right.
Do you agree?
I do. I mean, I had a wonderful family, a great support base at home. It was hard to leave home. I always wanted more than the small town. I was ready to get out and see the world, but I had no idea what I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know.
You weren't.
And so it was tough leaving. Be honest with you, I was cried like a little baby when I left mom and dad. And all my friends. But it was amazing. They say the hardest journey is that 6-7 inches between your ears, and it really is. And the military definitely turned me into a man, mentally, physically, the whole game. But it was great. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Right.
It was amazing.
It's a great experience. It's not something, knowing now, I probably wouldn't redo it.
Right.
But then I got to go, wait a minute, but it saved my life.
It made us what we are.
I didn't come from the loving childhood that you came from. I had a very, aggressive father and stuff. So it actually was an escape for me.
Gotcha.
So I was ready to, well, there's that saying, get the hell out of Dodge. Well, I'm from Dodge City, so it literally got the hell out of Dodge. So it was a break for me. It was really that. And I got to say that I wanted to be an actor and stuff at 16, and there was no place to go. I tried modeling, I tried doing stuff, and then when I went to the military, that's really where I got discovered. So I have to give it credit, because I got discovered as a model first, and then that took me into where I wanted to be. But I wouldn't have that. I probably might be a farmer, or might be,
So it gave you direction in two places then. It gave you direction as a man in life, and then direction in your career. So
absolutely, I'm very grateful for that.
Awesome.
So it was as you say, it was not so hard to leave, but it's hard to be around, be thrown into that world of basic training,
right,
and then schooling. We had 12 weeks of schooling, so the schooling for 12 weeks with complete strangers, and I'd never been around so many people in my life, and I'm like, that was a big stretch, But
right.
then, like we said, or for me, it changed my life in so many ways. So
right.
I'm grateful to for that. But I wanted to touch on that because we both have children,
yes.
and I look at the you have a son, I have two boys. That initiation into manhood today, if they don't go to the military, where do you go? Where do they get that?
Well,
Where does that go from?
It's got to come from the parents, whether it's the mom or dad. It's got to come from them. You've got to still teach them responsibility. My son Tyler is working full time. He's 17 years old, going into his senior year, and he's working full time at Chick-fil-A. And yeah, he does amazing. It's helped him so much, and that.
So you think the workforce, getting into the workforce has helped
and
them a lot?
direction from the parents. You got to be involved in their lives. You got to, of course, as parents, we love our kids, but we've got to do what we can, push to a certain extent, but also know when to back off.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah. So we sometimes we like to push too much,
right.
and other
Exactly.
times it's a passive aggressive thing. It really is. It's like, there's no rule book for that. So
right.
By the way, I like what we're doing. We're covering a bunch of different subjects, and this is a little bit out of the entertainment world and a little bit away from. But this is real life, and this is what I told you I wanted to do.
All of these different experiences, in the world, in the entertainment industry, no matter what part, we all have different lives. Some people are not parents, some are, some were veterans, some are not. Everything that you go through, that's kind of the point we're getting at here, is everything can add to it. You bring your own unique individual experiences to your work.
So let me ask you a question. For people who are just starting, if they're, let's just say they're beginning actors, which I taught a lot, which you were in the classes, and I want to talk about that in a minute too. But about how we discovered one another in the classes and what that transpired to. But for people starting out, for young people that don't have a lot of life experience, what do you suggest? What are your thoughts or your opinions of where they should go? How do they get started? What's a good first lesson?
Well, I'll just talk a little bit about how I got started. And in general, there is no roadmap, guys, to this business. There isn't. You kind of have to figure a lot of it out on your own, but there's a lot of resources out there. I actually believe it's easier today with all the information at your fingertips with the internet than when we started.
I agree.
Back in the day, when I first started, I had no clue what to do. So I actually went to some background casting. Bill Dance, I believe, is who I was with way back in the mid-'90s. So started doing some background just so I could get on set. I had acted a lot, but nothing professional at that time. So I started doing background to get on sets, learn what the whole biz is about from that aspect.
Right.
And eventually, I actually got my SAG card from background casting, whereas I got to audition on set for a little bit part on the movie Good Burger. A lot of you guys will remember that. The actual movie, not the series on television, but still Kenan and Kel. Sinbad, it was amazing. And I got the part. Just a little bit part. I believe it even ended up on the cutting room floor, to believe it or not.
Okay.
But it got my SAG card. And from there, I started branching out. And eventually, I did that for 4 or 5 years and pursued, got some work here and there. And then life happened, married, children, whatnot. So I started, I just kind of got out of the acting game for a while. But it never left me. It never left. And
so you think once it's in, so I always say acting chose me. I didn't choose it.
Yeah, totally.
And it truly was because I grew up as an artist kid. I had an interest in art and drawing and stuff. But I always knew that there's something inside I had to express. I wanted to express. I had to feel more, but I didn't have the tools, as you said earlier. The tools, which I've written a couple books on that, and you talk about the toolbox and all that. But it was. I wanted to share more. I felt more, but I didn't know what I felt yet.
Right.
So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you know that you're just beginning in acting, but you have that kind of something in the belly or something inside that wants to come out, the best way is to just take the first step and do it. get into a class, get into high school play, school play, whatever it is. Theater, I think, for me, was the best kind of initiation into that, because you're covering so many
theater's amazing.
Different steps, and it's basically you're getting an education and getting to perform for people pretty much for free, or if you're getting paid, that's wonderful. But a lot of the smaller theater doesn't pay anything, but it's the best education without paying for a class.
Well, if you have to act, I mean, first of all, you need to do it from the passion. If you're in it for fame and money, my advice would be don't even try it. Honestly, it's got to be a burning desire. It's got to be something that you love to do, because you can go your whole career without ever getting that big break. You can make some money. You can enjoy it. If it's your passion, you're going to love it.
Yeah.
Totally. But, I mean, like Lucille Ball said, act everywhere. Act on the street corner. Act any place. I don't care. Community theater, if you have to act, you just act. But if you want to do it with the big boys in L.A., then you've got to put in the hustle. You've got to put in the work. You've got to pay your dues.
When you have to stick it out, you can't quit.
Absolutely.
And that's what, I wanted to walk away so many times, and I packed it. I think I packed my bags a few times and wanted to leave. I'm going to the mountains. I'm going to get out of here. And then I'd get that call.
Right.
Like, hey, you booked whatever show.
Isn't that the best feeling?
And I'm like,
you booked it.
Yeah.
That's the best
I love to
feeling
hear.
in the
That's
world.
the best thing to hear is you booked it, by the way.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what it is.
So
I was
true.
going to say, and we're gonna jump forward to jump backwards for a minute. You actually use your acting in your job today.
I do.
So before we go to there, let's go back to where this took you. So you come into my class.
Right. So I like I said, the burning desire never went away, and I decided I had to do it. At the time, I was actually a store manager for Starbucks, and had two kids, Tyler and Marissa. I was married at the time, and just it wasn't working as far as the not acting thing.
Yeah.
So I took a big risk, and
you did a workshop or a seminar thing, I believe.
I did.
First,
because I had been out of the game for quite a while, and again, there's no roadmap. So I went in and I got into this little agency, which supposedly helps you. But you know what? They didn't teach me anything I didn't already know, except for maybe some of the updates in the industry. Like at the time when I started, we had to do black and white headshots. We had to deliver them to the offices. We had to check the castings in LA Weekly and go down on Thursday.
Did it all yourself,
Right.
It was pretty much doing it, yeah.
So they helped me with the updates. The internet had taken over. You started having digital plus color, not black and white for the headshots, things like that. But they, other than updating me on info, they really didn't do a lot for me. So I started branching out, because you always need to be in class. You always need to be working on your craft. Right. And so I searched out and I found Josh.
I think I came in as a guest speaker the first time.
You did,
didn't I? Meet you there for that?
You did.
Yeah. So I was speaking. I was coaching New York and LA, and I'd go back and forth like every other month. And I had a couple different programs that are companies that hired me, and I had my own class, my own workshop. But when I met Daryl, I think I was a guest speaker, and I'll just say this because this is how it started. I saw him, and I kind of singled him out, and I said, "Hey, you have something really special." And I said, you need to pursue this. And I said, how long have you been acting? You're like, man, I took a break. I'm just getting back to this. And I said, well, you're in the right place. And I really like what you're doing. You're organic, you're real. And as you and I've talked about this, as we started to work together, because I think then you said, yeah, man, I really want to do this. And like, how do I do it? And then I in the coaching way, gave you some ideas, and then we just started. You started coming to class and you started working things out.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to say this, that one of the biggest things to acting, one of the biggest keys to acting is listening. Mm-hmm. Listening is probably the hardest thing that even in life that we have a hard time doing with a lot of people. But if you're a good listener, you can take things in and take it for the value of what the other person is giving you. And by the way, as you may have learned in the military, people will tell you everything you want to know if you just listen.
It's true.
And I pride myself as being a good listener, and I don't want to say you were a great listener because you listened to a lot of stuff that I said. Not only did you take it in, but you used it to its fullest advantage and fullest fulfillment. So I'm grateful for that, by the way, because it showed I have maybe had some insecurities at the time going, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to throw this at Daryl and see if it sticks. And it did. It was actually quite wonderful.
You show me any actor without insecurities, and I'll tell you they're not an actor.
Yeah. We all have them at some point. So you tell us about live and take us into that, and then you'll maybe do some voices for us.
Sure.
But,
yeah, we can do that.
So you got this audition, kind of random audition, I remember, right?
So there was an audition that said, can you do the voice of Donkey from Shrek? And I actually could, because I had been with my kids in traffic. I had been doing voices for them for years, and I had been playing around, and I'm like, hey, I can do that. I can do Donkey. So that's pretty much all the breakdown said in LA Casting. We want to see you. And so I'm like, all right. So this is going to be a Saturday morning cartoon in L.A. or maybe national.
Yeah, you didn't know.
They can't afford Eddie Murphy for every Saturday morning or whatever. It's going to be a Shrek cartoon, and I'm going to be auditioning for the voice animator. So I was like, this is cool. So went in to do it, and we had been training together for a while, and I started freaking out. Because after I went in...
Well, I think the callback, you were in the car, and you called me from the car, and you were like... Oh my God, Josh, I'm so nervous. I don't know what to do.
The first day I went in, I nailed it.
It rattled you, I think, a little bit, because now you were getting a call, and I think they're going to tape you, or they're going to meet live. They're going to like videotape it and send it to wherever. And I remember one thing that I said to you. I said, just be yourself at home with your kids.
Yep, totally.
And that's what you did.
Yeah. I went in there for the callback. Performed, some of it was scripted, other was improv and whatnot. And literally Sean, who is an amazing casting director and kind of the creator of the show, the first director of the show, it's called Donkey Live. He was rolling. He was just cracking up, and he was laughing out loud. And,
you had to feel good when that was happening.
Totally.
Like, oh my God, I got him.
So then we get done with that, and he goes, okay, great. We're going to go into the next room, into a sound booth, and we're going to do some voice recordings, and then I'm going to send it off to Singapore and see if they like it, but I'm going to give them a recommendation that I want you to be Donkey.
Wow.
I said, Singapore?
You had no idea at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking this is going to be a Saturday morning cartoon, I said, okay, so what is this exactly? He goes, well, you're going to be working for Resort Worlds over in Singapore doing a show called Donkey Live, where you will be Eddie Murphy's Donkey from Shrek. And it's a 1-year contract. And I'm like, wow, okay, exciting. But then again, I have my kids. I said, okay, go ahead and let's do the recording, send it off. Let me talk this over with the family.
Right.
And we talked it over. The kids were young, and we decided, okay, we'll go over there for 1 year. The job market wasn't great in LA or in America at that time anyway. Yep. So we ended up going over there at the end of 2010, right?
I think so,
yeah. The end of 2010, I believe.
I think it was 10, yeah.
Yeah. And so get over there, and we're doing this show with Resort World's Donkey Live. It's basically digital puppetry and voiceover impersonation of Donkey animation. It's a live show where basically people would walk into a movie theater, see a big screen. They'd see Donkey on the screen, just like from the Shrek movies. It was a DreamWorks production,
right?
Which was cool because we actually had the DreamWorks guys over there and everything.
But it was like, as you were explaining to, I never saw the show. I'm sorry, I never made it over there.
It's all good.
But and you ended up doing how many years there?
Ended up doing 5.5 years, and that was my main job. I did a lot of others. I worked for MediaCorp. I did a lot of film, television, commercials, theater.
Did some great. By the way, you've done some really great. There's like a short film, as well that
it's
I
called
really
Sit With Me.
I love that.
Actually
that was
filmed
a
over there.
Great short film.
Showed over here. Won awards, best drama, best inspirational movie.
So that's on your YouTube page.
That is on my YouTube channel,
which is just Darrell Britt YouTube channel.
Darrell Britt 01, I believe it is.
Okay.
We'll put a link at the end. That way we'll be sure.
Yeah. We shared it before on our page, but we'll definitely share that again. A couple of the commercials I thought were really funny and really good as well. But I want to say the production value from what you told me was amazing.
It was. Yeah, it was totally. We interacted live with an audience. They got to talk to Donkey. I'm controlling every movement of Donkey from a computer backstage. And I can see everyone through cameras, and with the help of a host, we would.
That's crazy.
We would pick people out and talk to them live. And once they realized, whoa, Donkey can actually see me, You know, we were doing singing, dancing.
So if
the
you
whole deal,
saw
so-
me in the audience as Donkey, what would you be saying?
I'd be like, hey, Raz, yeah. You see that dude over there in the Cowboys hat? Yeah, we don't want to hold that against him or nothing, you know, Cowboys fan. Yeah, but we need to talk to him, so get him up here. And then, you know, Roz would get you up there, and I'd be like, see, man, what's your name?
Josh.
Josh, I like that name. That is a nice name. Yeah. Ooh, hey, what, man? Tell you what, we're going to go on a whirlwind adventure. We're going to swap manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles. So we just talk and the whole deal. And,
You like waffles. I like waffles.
It was a lot of fun, man. I
like
enjoyed
some
it.
waffles.
I enjoyed it.
That's great, man. Fantastic. Good job. You do a couple other. You do some other voices, I think, too, right?
Well, yeah, I've always played around with stuff. You know, I haven't had a chance to do other than Donkey for a living. But yeah, I've done all kinds of things.
Well, what a great way you can say I made a living
totally
for almost 6 years as a voice impersonator.
Totally. And had the freedom to do other projects while I was there.
And it paid really well. I remember you saying you don't talk about
didn't have to have the side hustle that all entertainment.
No, you made a
guys
living
and gals
as an
know
actor.
about.
It was
So,
great.
yeah.
It's a wonderful experience like we talked about. But you and I have a voice that we both do from a movie called Sling Blade.
Oh yeah. Billy Bob Thornton.
If you want to start
Sling
that
Blade.
off, we'll throw a little of that out there.
Well, I guess I ain't got no reason to kill nobody no more. What about you, Bubba?
I reckon ain't got no reason to kill nobody.
Think yours a little better than mine.
Nah, I don't know about that,
Yeah,
but
actually.
that was his name? Jimmy Dixon, Bobby Dixon. What's his name? That I went out to that shed and I saw my mama laying on that ground. And what's the other one? Like, I'm gonna get some French fried potatoes, right? Yeah, do that.
And potted meat too. You ever had that potted meat? That's good stuff right there.
I like when he went to the guy's like, "What's wrong with the lawnmower?" And he goes, "Ain't got no gas in it." It's pretty simple, man.
Yep.
And, I love the story. I wrote a brief story about Billy Bob Thornton.
That's right, you did.
Yeah. When I saw that movie, I thought it was a father and son movie, and it really affected me because it was, you know, he takes on that kid who has no real role model. Was his what's his name? Sam Black. Forget his name right now, but the young kid in that movie.
Yeah.
I don't have a computer here to look him up, but we're gonna need that ahead of time. I just love the father and son story. So I wrote a letter to Billy Bob, and about 2 months before, like in December, so a couple months before he won the Academy Award, I'm on set shooting a commercial in Colorado, and I get a call from my theatrical agent. And they say, Billy Bob Thornton just called here for you. And I'm like,
wow,
what? And I'm like thinking they're joking, and I'm like, for what? You know, I totally forgot about the letter because it was like a couple months before that. And he said, yeah, he wanted to call and thank you. That he got over like 1,500 letters or something. He said yours stood out.
Wow.
And he wanted to call and thank you for writing that letter to him. And then I met him a couple of times afterwards, and we got to talk about it. And but I was totally moved. And I'm like, wow, I wrote a letter. I was nobody. I didn't. I was doing a play and whatever. I think I invited him to my play. He didn't show up.
Right.
But in fact, he called and said, "Hey, man, I liked what you wrote about the letter, but I just wrote like from the heart." I said, "Man, this movie touched me. It really affected me, and it reminded me of like a father and son thing."
That's such a cool experience.
Really good job. But yeah, that movie was a great movie. If you guys don't know it, Sling Blade by Billy Bob Thornton. Great movie.
Well, I just wanted to touch on Singapore changed my life, by the way. Not just because I got to act for a living for 5.5 years. It changed it good and bad. I mean, I was separated from my children. I did bring them over there for the summers, and I'd come back to go for Christmases, and we went to Hawaii, you know, and we had a Skype relationship. And that was hard. But at the same time, I met my present wife.
Oh,
yeah.
Let's talk about
Liz. And she's just amazing. I mean, seriously, the most amazing woman in the world.
She is a great lady.
And if I would have never went there, I would have never met her.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm telling you, I could not have done better.
So that turned your world around a little bit.
Absolutely, man. She's amazing.
So it's good to have. And by the way, you know, I want to say congratulations on that. I know you've been married for a few years now, or like 5 years, 4 years, and I noticed your life or your demeanor, the way you're way happier. You know, how do I say it? You're more positive, you're more active, you're more excited about life, and you really turn your life around.
Absolutely.
And is a life, and which it comes down to. That's the most important thing.
It really is. I mean, you
Just to
can
be
pursue
happy.
your passion, but you got to have a base. You got to have it grounded.
You got to have that foundation.
Right. I mean, as you well know, you have that now as well.
I do.
So now you're blessed
very
on
much
that
so.
point too.
I'm
So.
very, very, yeah. It took me a while to get it as well, And
I think for a lot of us guys, it does.
By the way, I want. There's a disclaimer here. As actors, you don't have to be crazy. You don't have to be nuts. You don't have to feed off and live off of drama to be an actor or to be creative. There, which I think was a
well,
part
we do
of,
meet a lot
part
of
it.
crazy people in this business.
Because there's this eccentrics and there's people that are out there. But I find that I create the best or I'm most creative, I should say, when I'm calm. I used to think that I had to create the scattered drama.
Right.
And I know some of you have probably done that too or are doing it now. Well, you might want to take a look at that because is that a good mirror of who you are and what you really want to do? Because for me, I can only speak personally, it was a distraction and it kept me from pursuing some of my dreams and some of what I wanted to do. Because of that, it was like people would steal your energy or take away that spark or that charisma that we have as actors or as artists. And I'm just saying that you don't have to go that way.
No.
There's a much more peaceful
Save yourself
groundedness.
a lot of headache and heartache. And also you lose focus, you know what I mean? And you can't let life's going to happen.
You begin to focus on something else or someone else, and and it's a distraction. So
if you have someone that believes in you and supports you and is there no matter what, and Liz is not in the entertainment industry, although she's very talented. She's a great singer.
She can sing really well.
Oh yeah, she's gorgeous. She could have been a model. She totally could have. But she's a registered nurse, and that's the route she went. And she loves what she does, and she lets me do what I do, and she supports me. So if you have someone if you're going to be involved with anyone, have someone that believes in you and supports you. Otherwise, stay single. Focus and do your thing.
Well, just focus on the work and focus on yourself. I think as we've talked over the years, life in the development of oneself and the growth of oneself is constant, no matter what age you are, no matter how young you are. You're constantly growing and learning if that's what you seek. If you don't seek that, then you'll be stuck where you are, and you'll stay where you are. And that's okay too.
It is.
It's not. It's okay. We're not. There's no judgment. And by the way, I want to say this. This is a great time to put this in. There is no wrong thing to do as an actor. You can't go wrong by taking a chance. You can't go wrong by risking everything, because that's what it's all about. The more the risk, the more the reward, hopefully. But there is no guarantee in it. So
it's all about choices.
So make the choice of following your instinct or following your gut. And I think that's the greatest advice I ever learned was just to trust that instinct or that gut, and don't care what other people think of you.
Absolutely, and that can be one of the hardest things to ever do.
Right.
We all have our defenses just naturally in life. We want to always be at our best, have people see us as our best. And acting in particular, you have to strip that away. And I hate the word vulnerable. I really do. But that's what you got to do.
Well,
you got to open up, be truthful.
What do you mean by hate it? Because it is a great place. Now,
it's where you need to be.
It's so funny because I used to think I don't know, maybe this is where you're going with that. I thought vulnerability was a weakness when I first discovered it.
Being vulnerable is not a weakness.
It's not. I know. I realized that.
It's the word for me. It's just one of those words.
Coming out of the military, and I'm like, I remember my one of my first acting coaches said he got me to be vulnerable, and he said something like, that's vulnerability for you or whatever. And I felt really weak at the moment because I didn't understand the emotional context of it.
You want to be Superman. You want to be invulnerable.
Yeah, and I thought, well, you got to be strong. You got to be macho, and you got to be stand up. And I found that being a bigger guy or a muscular guy and being able to be vulnerable and share those emotions and show those feelings and truly be vulnerable in moments I mean, you can ask my girlfriend. I cry at movies like you probably do too. I'm sappy. I'm very sensitive. Right. And I go, you know what? There's a strength in that.
Yeah.
Because when you're vulnerable, you're in touch with what?
Your emotions.
Your emotions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you are feeling. I mean, and what is life? Life's about feeling.
It's about feeling. It's about experiencing.
It's about enjoying
absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
You know?
We talk a lot of the same things here.
We really
do.
You
notice that there's a common thread here that which I think we'll find, or you guys will find as we proceed with the show. And again, I wanted to say thanks, a shout out to you guys that are watching and hanging out with us. Thank you so much. If you please add your questions and comments and anything that you want to see covered on here.
Absolutely.
We're not wrapping it up yet. We got a few minutes, but I just wanted to quickly take a sidebar here and go, thank you. This is something that I've been passionate about for a very long time. I've been in the business for right at 30 years, roughly 32 years to be exact. I am getting old. I'm still going, man. I'm still pursuing it. I'm still living the dream.
I still look up to you, brother. I mean,
man, thank you.
Over 100 national commercials on your record. You're still directing, writing, about to be published. I can't wait for that.
Looking for a good publisher now for the book. Yeah, thank you. That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll get into more of that as we get the book published. We'll be talking about it on here. But it's a great it ties in everything like we're talking about. But it takes it into the general public. So it's not just about acting. It's not just about...
Oh, no.
And by the way,
is creative, yes.
But creative is, in what you said, I think the biggest thing is giving yourself permission to feel.
Yeah.
If you allow yourself to feel and you allow yourself to grow, then you don't have so many obstacles. There's not so much drama or resistance in your life. So when you're vulnerable, you're allowing that vessel to be open, and it allows more of understanding. Again, this goes back to what I said before. You also have to sit and listen sometimes. And you just have to have that calm and that peace of just going, it's going to be okay.
Well, when you allow yourself to feel, when you allow yourself to be open, so many things can happen, great things. Something we haven't touched on yet is I actually... I got published little short story in the Secret series. You know, Rhonda Byrne and The Secret.
Love that
series,
by the way. Yeah.
It was called How the Secret Changed My Life. You know, and that was from being open and feeling and just going with it. And I had written a letter to Rhonda Byrne, the author, and then her daughter calls me back. Emails me back, and then eventually we started talking, and she's like, we really loved your letter, and we're writing a book called How the Secret Changed My Life, and we would love for you to write that.
I got to check that book out now, though. You told me about that. I totally forgot about that.
But it's just the universe and God and whoever you subscribe to, it all goes down to being open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And really discovering, because it'll lead you to the places you need to go to get the information you need.
Absolutely. So, and the belief in yourself doesn't come from anyone else.
No.
It has to come from you doing the work.
You have to do the work.
Finding that core self of what you truly believe in. And it doesn't matter what you believe in, but to find that passion. And that's what I'm writing about, and that's what you're talking about, and that's what we're doing here, is that you kind of have to break out of that skin or out of your normal Groundhog Day enough to find out what really truly inspires you. I always say this. I say this to my kids so much they probably get tired of hearing it. But I said, I want to know what wakes you up in the morning.
Right.
What gets you up in the morning and makes you want to go to? I know they don't want to go to school. Well, only one in school yet. But what gets you up in the morning and inspires you to move forward? That's the key. When you find that, that's your true passion. That's your career. That's your existence, and that's what you should pursue.
It is,
in my opinion.
Totally, and
because that passion, there's not going to be one thing greater than that.
Right.
So for you, what is your greatest passion?
Career-wise, it's definitely acting. In life in general.
You like how I just threw that question out there?
I do. I love it.
I threw you on the...
I love it.
Remember the hot seat in class?
Totally.
I used to have this hot seat. It was painted red, and I would put people in the class. And
I do.
And it's like, so...
In life, it's my family. It's my wife, my kids, my parents.
That's a good one.
I'm blessed enough to still have them. My sister, my friends. You know, it's what makes life worth it. But as far as career and just passion of, it's acting. Again, you started talking about, I'm back in the States now. Obviously, I'm not in Singapore. Right. So I'm pursuing, I'm open to anything and everything. But in my job, I use my acting abilities every day, whether it be announcing, whether it be demonstrating, or whatever it is. Who do I want to be today? Who am I today? And right now I'm Darrell Britt, and I'm being Daryl. I'm being honest. I'm being vulnerable.
I know one person that you are sometimes, and I would have to ask you, Forrest. How's Jenny doing?
Jenny, well, she died. I'm a little bit sad about that, but I do have little Forrest, and Forrest is amazing. He is all grown up now. I don't know. My movie was about, 25 years ago now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's really smart.
Well, I heard you took a run one time, too, didn't you?
Oh, I'm always running. Running is one of the most amazing things you could ever do. Why would you ever stop running?
There's unless you're running from yourself, then you might want to stop.
Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
That's right. Well, thank you, Forrest. Thank you for showing up.
And I do also want to appreciate Rocky Balboa coming into the studio today with us. So,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Really, Rocky. Really right.
Adrian, in the case I get beat up tonight, it's like, I've been coming here for 6 years. 6 years, that's my locker. Well, you got to move my locker, Yeah. You got me on that one. You got me on that one.
Hot seat.
Because I would normally go into somebody else from a great movie called It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, yeah.
And I do this for my girlfriend a lot. And, you just got to remember, well, what is it, Mary? Do you want the moon? Well, that's right. We'll say it, and I'll also bring it down for you. Well, that's right. Mary gets the moon. It'll come out of your fingertips and your toes, and attaboy, Clarence.
That is my favorite Christmas movie, by the way.
I love that movie.
You nail it.
Thank you.
Josh.
One of my favorite. I had a chance. I have a quick story about Jimmy Stewart, and we're gonna wrap up in a few minutes, but. I was a security guard for many years. I had like 3 jobs when I came to L.A. I was
like every other actor.
I was one of those actors that I went to work here and there. It was funny because one of my first jobs when I was a bouncer several times. I used my brute. Thankfully, I didn't get beat up or have to get my face punched in very many times. But I worked in a club called Bar One when I first came here, which was owned by Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, wow.
Or he was part owner. And it was funny because he was, Rocky and my hero and all this and really inspired me as a kid. And Sylvester used to come in and stand by me, and I always liked that. Thought it was cool that I was bigger than him, or taller than him, and more, kind of bigger, bulkier than he was. And we would talk at the bar, like you and I are talking right now, and I'm going, this is really weird.
Yeah, it's surreal.
Because we're like buddies.
That's surreal. Yeah.
We're talking, and there's part of me like, tell him you want to be in a movie with him. Tell him you want to act with him. Do it. And I'm like, I couldn't, because I had so much respect for him on a man-to-man level, and I got to know him through working through his bar a little bit. And I never worked with him. I'd love him. He's iconic. Stallone, if you're out there, I'm still available. I'll still work for you. That'll be fun. I won't do any impersonations of you in front of you. I think that's insulting, but I know. And then I was doing the Cable Ace Awards as a a security guard, and I got to walk Jimmy Stewart in. Now, that guy's
that's awesome.
He was like 6'5", I think.
Right.
So, and he was the kindest person, and and I'd been doing his voice for many times. Obviously, I didn't do it in front of him either. But I walk in with him, half a block, and I'm escorting him in, and he's talking to me, and just the kindest. He was like a grandpa, he was old enough to be my grandfather, I think, at the time, and I just that was one of those moments where I can't really say that I met him. He would have never remembered me, but what a great moment of going, well, there's somebody you really look up to, and those old movie stars, we don't really have that as much anymore today.
We don't.
And it's kind of cool that I got to live a few of them out in my lifetime, but never worked with them, but got to meet him and share a moment in time.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm grateful for that. We got a couple minutes here, and then we're going to wrap up. But dude, I just want to say, so grateful you came here.
Thank you.
Again, you're a good friend. You're a great buddy. a very talented actor and human being in this world. So
Thank you very
you.
much.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that as my puberty kicks in. The voice just
Well,
changed.
now you know the way we do that is we work through it.
Hey,
Hey.
you know, I kept this watch up his ass for 10 years.
Whoa, what was that?
It's your birthright. You know, there's some voices out there. Yeah, there's a few in there. We're a little bit crazy over here, but I think I think this is our first show, so I think we're wrapping up, right, Sam? I'm getting the word. Once again, I'm so vain. Josh Carmichael, Darrell Britt's my guest today, my first guest.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you
for
so
having me
much,
here.
Darrell. Join us every Tuesday, 11 a.m., right here, LA Talk Radio. We'll be back at you next week. Thanks a lot, everybody. And where's my...
You're listening
We're
to
out.
I'm So Vain with Josh Carmichael, only on LA Talk Radio.